Cageside with John Morgan.
And welcome to everybody to Cageside with John Morgan. I am your host, Eric McMahon. UFC 288 in the books, and still Aljamain Sterling defeats Triple C Henry Cejudo to remain champion. There is so much to break down, not only in that fight, but in this card. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in the man. His name is on the marquee. You can follow him on Twitter, JohnMorgan_MMA. John Morgan, what's up, pal?
I'm good, man. I mean, I always love getting with you every single Monday and talking about what happened the last weekend. But when it's after a UFC pay-per-view, it's all the stories are that much deeper, right? Because you got title fights, you got number one contender fights. I mean, the fight night events are fun, but man, it's the pay-per-views where you really get excited to talk about what's happened at the championship level.
All right, so let's just get into it because I have been clamoring since Saturday night to actually speak with you about it. We didn't do much pre-talking before we hit the record button because I want to get honest takes without us time to think about it. Aljamain Sterling split decision victory over Triple C Henry Cejudo. First and foremost, who did you have winning the fight?
I thought it was a razor-thin decision. I wasn't really sure which way it was going to go. I would have had no problem, if I'm being honest, with either way, but I had Aljamain Sterling winning this fight. I gave him rounds 1, 3, and 4. I gave Henry Cejudo rounds 2 and 5, and I thought Aljamain had it, but I got to be honest with you. When those two lined up and then we were waiting on the scorecards, I was not 100% sure that it wasn't going to be and new.
We usually agree. Usually we agree on probably 90%, 95% of what we talk about. I just disagree here. And I, John, like just now, listen, Twitter is not the scope of where we're going to get real in-depth knowledge and things of that nature. But according to like the message boards, Twitter, social media, I think you are in the minority here. I think the majority of people saw it as Henry Cejudo winning that fight, myself included. I had him winning, and I don't even think this is what's wild about MMA and why judging is so hard. I had Henry Cejudo clearly winning round 2 and clearly winning round 5. And round 3, albeit very close, I had Henry Cejudo by not a razor-thin margin, by a decent margin winning round 3. So I gave him 2, 3, and 5. Now I say all that to say this is like how each person is particularly judging a round is based on, I guess, their interpretation of what people are trying to accomplish a lot of time, because I don't think any much damage was done in that third and final round. But to me, it was really Henry just hanging on that head, dictating, stuffing takedowns, and then jumping in and hitting shots. But I digress. Let's start with round number 1, because there's so much to talk about here. There's so much to talk about. In my opinion, Aljamain Sterling stole that round in the last 15 seconds of the round. He was getting out-grappled and outstruck in that first round to a back take. Now, I agree, stole the round from him, but it didn't do anything. It just literally stole the round. So if I'm arguing this, really, I'm going to say Henry Cejudo up until 15 seconds left in the round, won round 1. Would you agree?
Well, I'll tell you what, when I saw that first trip takedown from Henry Cejudo and just how easy it came in that opening round, I thought, I have completely misinterpreted how this fight is going to potentially play out. That came far too easy. But I think Aljamain battled out of that. And yes, I would really, the late heroics kind of won in that opening round, but I thought a clear round for Aljamain Sterling.
I agree. It's a clear round because that was the most dominant position of the fight up until that point. Any of the strikes weren't going to throw major damage that swayed it one way or another. I just really think that Triple C, albeit on his back foot a little bit more than normal, just with the length and reading the length, he was doing a really good job of kind of just downloading the information, got the takedown when he wanted it. And to your point, I agreed with it. When he got those double unders, I go, double unders. And he literally just picked him up, body locked, and just brought him to the ground effortlessly.
The best body lock inside trip combination game in all of MMA, as far as I'm concerned. He makes it look so effortless, and it's not as easy as he makes it look, but he makes it look like it's the easiest takedown in all of mixed martial arts. And by the way, I should say, all 3 judges agreed that was an Aljamain Sterling round.
Okay, now let's get into 2. Between me and you, and for this audience, let's not talk about how the actual judges judged it, because we will get into that,
All
which
right.
is crazy to me. Okay. Round number 2, not a lot, but it was really, in my opinion, Henry Cejudo now saying, okay, I got to get that one back. I'm going to come in with some big shots. And to me, just effortlessly dictating whether the fight was not going to say be on the ground or stand up, but every time Henry Cejudo's sprawl from like the middle of the cage, like, you are not taking this guy down in the middle of the cage.
It's unbelievable. His defensive wrestling is so sound. And there's a lot of things that we talked about going into the fight, right? And the striking, we both thought that, a lot of his best work was going to be done on the feet. And he really showed that. Even though there was that huge size disadvantage, even though there was that huge reach disadvantage, man, he's just so quick and moving in and out. And you're absolutely right. That defensive wrestling, you're not taking him down with traditional takedown. You got to do something with, a trip, which I thought, to be honest, we'd see more of, and we didn't. So round 2, to me, a Henry Cejudo round.
The one thing that has surprised me, and I really started seeing it in the second round, albeit Henry Cejudo still won that second round, both of us agree on that, is how much trouble Triple C was having in the clinch against the cage. I was going into this thinking that you weren't going to be able to hold Henry Cejudo in any position at all, because I even said it on this breakdown, in these scrambles, in these transitions, in these clinches, Henry Cejudo and great wrestlers have the ability to get in and get out of them pretty easy. Now, Aljamain Sterling's no chump in wrestling. I mean, he's a high level D1, wrestler. Okay. But still, I thought Henry Cejudo was going to have an easier time, and it started really manifesting that against the cage. It started really manifesting itself in that second round, which really surprised me. And the one thing Aljamain Sterling, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, is he was using, that over-under 50-50 position, even though it's technically 50-50, he was superior in his head positioning, and he was superior in literally using his length there, because when on the underhook side, it wasn't an underhook. It was a high underhook. And so Henry Cejudo could never get that arm down to then maybe pummel in and switch positions.
Well, I don't know how much it weighed in the judges' heads, but I think you're absolutely right. In a typical situation of 50-50 over-under, like it is a 50-50 position. But when you have that huge size difference between the two and you're kind of arching the other person over, and it really looks more, I think, much more of a dominant position the way that he was executing. How much that weighed in the judges' heads, I don't know. But it did seem to me in those positions, hey, this isn't 50-50 who's in control right now. It's pretty clear as I'm watching this who's controlling in these spots.
In that round number 2, Henry Cejudo really started opening up his striking. I think he even hit him with a pretty big head kick in that second round as well. I thought the damage and the force and just the determination of getting a lot of those back, Henry Cejudo had, which got him the round. Now let's take that into round number 3, because if there's any round in contention, it's round number 3. So this is when Aljamain Sterling, he got a takedown. He also really started battering Henry Cejudo's leg in that round. And I think that was the major factor in the judges and probably John Morgan's eyes that gave him that round. Is my assessment of what you were seeing right?
You're spot on. I thought it was a close round. I thought, I kind of sat there, and I'll be honest, I was sitting there watching it with Chris Kalidas, my broadcast partner up at Fight League Atlantic, and he was kind of thinking, I don't know. I mean, he and I are kind of the same as you and I are. Like, normally as we're commentating or as we're just watching fights, we kind of look at each other and we go, yeah, that's fighter A. Yeah, that's fighter B. And I was like, Sterling 2-1, right? And he kind of looked at me and was like, I think maybe Cejudo 2-1. You know what I mean? But you're spot on with what it was. He started to get that striking going. We started to see the volume a little bit from Aljamain Sterling, especially the work to the legs, which, I mean, those were some nasty shots that he was throwing there. And he did get the takedown as well. So you're spot on with your assessment there.
Though, and I don't know, I'm not going to say through my trained eye, because you have a trained eye as well, probably, if not more than I do. But we DC on this broadcast and the commentators, gosh, like, it kind of like drives me crazy a little bit how much DC is kind of over the top a little bit. And he's like, Oh, it's 3 rounds. I mean, at that point, DC had him up 3-0, and I'm like, are you crazy, Daniel? Like, are you crazy right now? But anyways, if we go back and watch this fight, and this is where I don't think a lot of people or the judges gave any credit. Henry Cejudo was attacking that lead leg of Aljamain a lot. And I think he hit it a lot better than Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo, like, he stone-faced walked through, but you can tell by the way he was checking, and sometimes when it would get hit, he would wobble on it a little bit. But if you noticed, every single time Henry Cejudo chopped that front low calf kick, Aljamain had to switch stances. And he'd switch stance for an extended period of time. And I really thought that Henry Cejudo in that round opened with still opening up his strikes a lot and making Aljamain switch stances from every single set, that the more damage in that round was by Henry Cejudo. And this is just, I think, where that disconnect on that round 3 comes into play.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, that's what gets so frustrating sometimes about assessing damage, right? Because is he switching stances simply because he wants to give a different look? Now, it's one thing if a man's leg buckles, or he falls. That's pretty obvious. That did some damage, It's the same thing, with cuts. Is that real damage or is that kind of superficial damage? And I love the idea of we're weighing damage. But the frustrating part about that is it's not a video game where we have like energy meters where we can see like exactly how much it came down. It's really such a subjective evaluation unless you really see, a knockdown is obviously clear damage. A wobble is obviously clear damage. Even like you said, somebody limping on the leg, clear damage. But I do understand. And I'll tell you the other optic, and you heard it coming from Matt Serra in the corner as well, is the multiple times where Aljamain Sterling would kind of go to the all fours, the prone position, and he would be moving his head. And technically, there's nothing really offensive happening. It's you're okay to be in that position, but you got to think from the judges, man, they don't like seeing that as you're kind of in that prone position defending. That can't look good.
I'm glad you brought that up because that is why I gave round 3 to Henry Cejudo.
I get it.
Aljamain Sterling shot in probably three or four times in that round, and 3 or 4 times Henry Cejudo stuffed it and and it might be Aljamain taking a break, it may be whatever, but at the end of the day, it was Henry Cejudo holding him there and deciding when to let him up. Because that's what really happened, in my opinion. Henry Cejudo decided when he was going to. There was one time where he came around, tried to grab the back. Aljamain grabbed the leg. Then Henry Cejudo went right back to that front headlock and was just cranking and holding him there. And to me, that's Henry Cejudo dictating where he wants the fight to be.
It's such an interesting spot because, right, like if you stuff a takedown and that person, to me, Aljamain Sterling was playing the game, right? Like, hey, I know that you can't strike me from this position. If we're in one championship, I'm not staying right here because I'm about to get blasted in the face with a knee, but I know you can't touch me right here other than throwing punches, and I feel like I can still evade those punches. But it definitely doesn't look good. But to me, it's just kind of a defensive posture. And then I'll tell you why it really doesn't look good for Aljamain Sterling is because there's still all that criticism of the way he gained the title, right? Now, I think he certainly justified himself as a champion in the run since, but come on, man. He's the only guy in history that's ever gotten the title from an illegal knee, and now you're putting yourself in a position where, hey, I know you can't strike me with a knee here because it would be illegal. I think from a fan's perspective, and that may be why a lot of people saw that for Cejudo, but to me, I think you're right. Optically, it looks terrible, but to me, there's no real offense being done at that moment. Yes, you are right. You're kind of dictating where I am, but that's the tertiary score, right? As far as, at that point, you're talking about, fighting space control, octagon control, because I'm controlling. I'm not actually physically holding you. I didn't actually take you down. I'm not actually in control of your body right now, but you are right. I'm the one that's kind of keeping you in that position. So that's why it's such an interesting discussion to me, because optically, I think it looks bad, but honestly, I don't think that should actually score anything.
Yeah, I mean, I agree and disagree on that point. On that point. And I'll say why. It's because I have a wrestling base growing up. And now a guy who, I did fight albeit a very low level fighting, but now I compete fairly regularly on fairly bigger stages in jiu-jitsu. I love that front headlock position, and I love it because I can set up a lot of different things from there. And I also set up because it forces them to do something before me. If they want to stay there the whole time, in my opinion, I'm cooking them. As Bryce Mitchell says, I'm cooking them from there, right?
To the bone.
I'm cooking them to the bone, right? I'm cooking them from there. I'm making them, putting a lot of pressure on the back of their head. And it's either they're going to try and sit out and scramble, which I think I feel comfortable with, or they're going to sit back and pull a guard, which then at some point I may go into it, or I think I can beat my hips around their hips one way or another. So for me, I love that position because I'm dictating, the next step based off of the bad position that they are in, and they know they're in a bad position. So Aljamain Sterling is smart enough to know that Henry Cejudo is not going to try some sort of guillotine choke from there.
Right.
And that's why he played that game right there. And I can't, I guess, necessarily fault him, but from a guy, for me, who loves, when in competition, being in that front headlock position, I see that as more advantageous for Henry Cejudo. But that's just...
I get it. That's the weird thing about it. Like, I think it's a tactically smart approach, but I think it's an optically terrible approach, if that makes sense, right? I mean, if you think about it, if you were in a jiu-jitsu tournament, a wrestling tournament, there's no points being scored there, right? But it looks terrible. You know what I mean? So, and again, now you extrapolate into how he got the belt, and I'm sure fans will look at that going, come on, man, what are you doing here?
I didn't even think about that.
I think that factored in. I think that factored into what a lot of people. I think that's why Matt Serra, when he came back to the corner, was like, no, I do not want you going to all fours anymore. I do not want to see this anymore. I think Matt Serra felt that in the moment as well.
The most decisive round for Aljamain Sterling, in my opinion, was at round number 4, and it was because he did, I think, at least once. I think he may have taken Henry Cejudo down twice in that round. But the moment that really solidified that is he was going in on a double leg, and Henry Cejudo, the flexibility of that man was crazy. He was fighting off this double leg to the point he was in a full splits with his ass touching the canvas before he finally got his legs just kind of scooped out and put right on his butt against the cage. But as you see these splits getting wider and wider and wider, you knew it was just a matter of time until that butt hit the canvas.
Yeah, 100%. I'll be honest with you. At that point, that was the round where I thought, okay, Henry's fading now. You know what I mean? Like, now the 3 years away is starting to set in. Now the range difference. Now, the fact that Aljamain's in his prime. Round 4, I thought, yeah, well, hey, thanks, Henry, for showing up. You did your best. This is a shame, but, nice effort. And I thought this fight was over. And then, we talked about it coming in, that mentality that he has, that competitive nature that he has that just kind of some other people didn't or don't. Man, he came out there in round 5 and man, just showed why he's Henry Cejudo.
Okay, so we both agree. Round 4, clearly Aljamain. Yes. Round 5, clearly Henry Cejudo. Now let's recap what happened in round number 5. Aljamain on his back foot, not engaging a lot, circling a lot. Henry Cejudo pressing forward before that ultra impressive grabs one of the legs, lifts it high, runs him down, kind of to end the round. Clearly round 5, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was around it was weird. The momentum shifted, and I attribute it to kind of two things. One, like I just said, I think that competitive nature of Henry Cejudo realizing this is my last 5 minutes. I got to go out there and make something happen. Realizing maybe we're at a draw right now, maybe I'm behind, but I got to make something happen. And I think also, and we saw it in round 5, but I think we saw it in other places throughout the fight as well. Sometimes I think Aljamain second guesses himself a little bit, man. I think he is such a kind of a cerebral athlete and breaks down the game and thinks about it. We talk about these guys both having YouTube channels and tactical breakdowns, and they're real intelligent in the game. And sometimes I think he just doesn't, he overthinks things instead of just going out there and just go out there and physically try to dominate somebody. And it cost him, I think, in round 5. It was a combination of both those factors. So yes, clear round 5 to me for Henry Cejudo.
In between round 4 and 5, in Henry Cejudo's corner, his fight ready camp and his coaches said, this is 2-2. You have to get this round. They told him it was 2 rounds to 2 rounds.
Yep.
Right. And that's exactly how I had it going into the 5th and final. Now you had it 3-1 at that point. I had it 2-2. So I don't know what to make of that, but to show that championship mindset that Henry Cejudo had, he went out there and he took round 5 because Aljamain, whether he was tired, whether he thought he was up, I don't think he thought he was up because even in the post fight, he was like, I didn't know how this was going to go down. Right. So I don't think he was up. His corner was like, Aljo, quit doing this, quit doing that. Right. So there was a level of concern there. But Henry Cejudo, that championship mindset, he went out and took that 5th and final round.
Yep, he deserves a lot of credit for that. And to your point as well, Aljamain did in his post-fight as well say, I didn't intend to fade like I did in round 5. So I think he even admitted that, he tired in round 5. And I think it's that, probably that awful weight cut that he has for him. It's just tough for him to go the full 25. So, round 5 I had for Henry Cejudo.
Okay. So without no, I don't want to break down all the judges' scorecards here. But how Derek Cleary, do you know him?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
In passing, not a great friend, but I definitely do.
Derek Cleary gave Aljamain Sterling the 5th round. That was his deciding round of the fight. He had it 2-2. Now to recap, he had it 1 for Aljo, 2 for Henry, 3 for Henry, 4 for Aljo, and 5 is up for grabs. Whoever wins that fight wins the round. I don't listen, this is what drives me crazy because I'm not going to stand on a mountaintop here and say Henry Cejudo's robbed. I said I thought Henry won the fight. I didn't say Henry was robbed.
Right.
Okay. There's a big difference between that. But Derek Cleary, how in the world do you give round 5 to Aljamain Sterling? And that is what swung the victory to Aljo and took it from Henry Cejudo. So in that one round, by Derek Cleary, I will say Henry got robbed in that round on your scorecard. That is insanity to me. It's insanity that Derek Cleary, I don't know him. I know the name. He's ref probably 1,000 UFC fights. How do you give round 5 to Aljamain Sterling?
Ton. He's done a ton of fights, man, and a ton of championship fights. It's not one of those situations where, why is this guy sitting in the chair? No, he's been there a lot, and he's been in a lot of big fights. But that one was a little bit surprising to me as well. And it's really weird sometimes when you agree with somebody's scorecard, but you don't necessarily agree with the round by round breakdown of how they got there. You know what I mean? He had, like you said, he had 2 and 3 for Henry Cejudo as well. So he had 1, 4, and 5 for Aljamain Sterling. So it's like, hey, him and I arrived at the same score, but we got there in different ways. And in some ways you're like, okay, good. Well, at least you got the same score. But it's like, well, if we didn't get there the same way, is that a good thing? But I do want to stress, good night. These rounds were close, man. These rounds were close. The fight was close. And I think you touched on it as well to say, I'm not, run to the top of the hill to cry robbery. It's just not a robbery, but it is frustrating sometimes when we see scorecards like that, where we're like, hold on, I thought we had it and it was this way, but gosh, I do remember it, son. I don't remember if it was round 3 or when it was, but I just remember sitting back and going like, my goodness, are these guys high level? Like, God, is this fun to watch, man? These guys are so good. So good.
So I put up a tweet right afterwards. So anyways, make a long story short, Henry Cejudo was not robbed. He was not robbed. You had Aljo winning the fight. I had Henry Cejudo. That's what makes this sport so great. A lot of things are subjective, frustrating at times, but great at times about the subjectivity of this sport. I put something up on Twitter, and this was hysterical. I said, I had Henry Cejudo winning 2, 3, and 5. Am I wrong? And now I think a lot of the people that reply are just going to be the people who agree with you.
Right.
But then there was this one guy in particular. He was like, I had it the same way. Well, maybe I could have given this round to Aljamain. And then he tweets replies a third time. I have no idea what I'm talking about now. I have no idea.
Hey, you know what? I can appreciate the honesty. I
just wrote back, haha, because I was like, yeah, I kind of agree with your take. Am I so fixated on this word, or now I'm rethinking, maybe I don't know.
And it's funny too, because you think about these judges. First of all, as we're watching fights, first of all, we're getting multiple angles, so sometimes that's better. As a judge, man, you're getting one look at it, so you may miss some things because a post is in your way, or just because the way the bodies were positioned, you couldn't see a shot. They only get one side to look at it, and I think that's tough sometimes. Now there is monitors there, but they try to only use those if their shot is totally blocked. And the other thing is, like, a lot of the times when we're scoring things, we're sitting there talking to somebody like, you thought this, right? He did this, right? You saw that. Those judges don't get that luxury, right? It's just, especially if you're in seat number 1, that scorekeeper is right there to. I mean, you got to write the score down, like right. You the bell sounds. You don't even get to go. Hang on one sec. Hang on. Yeah. No. Yeah. Okay. 10. You know what I mean? You're like, you got to hand your score over right then because they got 3 scores to get. So it is a tough job. And in rounds this close, there are fights where I see scorecards and I'm like, bro, what are you thinking? Like, there's absolutely no way you could have reached this conclusion. This one, it's tough, man. So I don't want to, just absolutely persecute somebody as being terrible in what they did, but it was just that close of a fight.
No, I agreed with his. To put this in context, I'm not calling Derek Cleary a horrendous judge, because in these razor tight rounds, I saw everything the same exact way Derek Cleary did up until round 5. I had the same exact scorecard as he did. Even that very razor tight, contentious third round, I saw it the way Derek did. And then round 5, that's why like my head exploded when they finally posted these scorecards. I said, Derek, how do you see round 5 for Aljo? Because you're the only one on the face of the earth that saw round 5 for Aljamain Sterling. Literally the only person.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, Michael Bell and Derek Cleary, they both had Henry Cejudo up 2-1 after 3 rounds. So they both had 2-3 clearly in his favor. So it's wild, man. It's absolutely wild.
It is. Gosh, man, do I love this sport, though. I love this sport.
It's a great fight. It lived up to everything we wanted, man. It lived up the tension, the drama. It was all there.
Okay. And still, now we have, I want to say, like, I know this O'Malley, and they had this set up because he was going to face off with the winner. He was there waiting. But you know what, man? I want to see O'Malley on the sidelines getting better a little bit longer, and I want this fight ran back. It was such a good fight. It was so razor close. Think about what Henry Cejudo could do with another fight camp, right back in the gym, give a little time, take some family time, have the birth of your kid, get right back in there. Gosh, I want to see that, because this fight was so good. I'm pacing in that final round. My wife's like, what are you doing? And I said, this fight is so good. I'm just so amped right now. I'm pacing in my living room.
Okay, Eric, I hear where you're coming from, but now I need you to take you into the boardroom, because we have a shareholders meeting today. Endeavor has a shareholders meeting today, and we would like you to explain to them why this budding superstar, this fast-rising Sean O'Malley, with all the glitz and the glamour and the Twitch streamers and the weed smokers and everybody else, we would like you to explain to our shareholders why that will be a bigger pay-per-view than Sean O'Malley stepping in. And I think that's what it boils down to. It may be rushing him a little too far to the top, but the guy's got the star power right now, and that's why he's getting the shot.
Understood. I understood. That's why I said I'd like to see it. I know I'm not going to see it. With that being said, let's just say money and optics have nothing to do with it. If you're sitting down and you're booking, let's just say UFC 292, and we have a 45-pound title or a 35-pound title that needs to be defended, who are you giving that? Who are you booking Aljo versus?
You know what? Even just from a competitive standpoint, like if we're taking like the business side of it, like let's take that out of it. We're not worried about pay-per-view buys because that's not our deal, right? Like, no, we don't have to. You know what? I'd probably still go with Sean O'Malley right now, just because Henry Cejudo did take 3 years away. He did walk away from the sport, and guess what? Everybody else stayed busy in the interim and had to work their way up the ladder and had to move their way, and they had to carry the division while you walked away. You came in, you got your shot, you were competitive as hell. I don't want Henry Cejudo to walk away, but I don't know that I would give him a rematch. I think I would go ahead and go with Sean O'Malley as well. If I'm being honest with you, if it was up to me, I'd say I would say Aljamain, go ahead and move up now because we know you're moving up anyway. Let's get Movsar Evloev and Sean O'Malley in there for a title shot. And that's even before all the stuff that unfolded in the cage unfolded. I feel so bad for Movsar Evloev that he is the number one contender. But he has said, I'm not fighting my brother, Aljamain Sterling. Like, we're not just friends. We're not just training partners. It's not like we just sparred a couple of times, and because of that, we don't want to fight. Like, this is my brother, and I don't want to fight him. So, there's a lot of things going on in that division. But I would say Sean O'Malley, because guess who was carrying the division, while Henry Cejudo stepped away. but I don't want Henry Cejudo to be gone for good. And I know that he may not be interested in anything that's not a title fight, but he just showed he's right there. He's right there. After 3 years away, he's right there. He should fight again.
I love that you kind of brought me back down to reality about what really happened. And I'm looking and looking at it big picture and not just let my emotions catch up with me about what I just watched on Saturday
when we
night.
see a great fight, we want to see it again, right?
Right, because you are absolutely correct. Henry Cejudo did walk away for 3 years. He, to his point, whether it was over money or was it over ego or whether he just really did accomplish everything that he ever set out to accomplish and there was a lack of motivation, who knows? But yes, he did walk away for 3 years. And we had superstars come up that were Aljamain Sterling, that were Peter Yan, that were Sean O'Malley. And you're right. Deservingly so, Sean O'Malley gets that spot. I said it more from a standpoint as, do I think Sean O'Malley is going to be better in 3 months or is he going to be better in a year? And I think Sean O'Malley is such a talent that I don't want to see. And I said this same exact thing probably 3 months ago on this podcast is I don't want to see him getting derailed in any way, shape, or form right now, because I do believe that he is the future of that division to a degree.
No,
and I
100%
want to see get derailed right now.
I get it, man. I 100% get where you're coming. The guy's 28 years old. He's kind of just now really entering his athletic prime, right? He's had, I mean, yes, he fought Peter Yan and he won that fight there. A lot of people may say, oh, I don't know, but I mean, that's a big result, split decision, but that is a legitimate contender. Before that, Pedro Munoz, no contest. Before that, Holly and Paiva, Chris Moutinho, Thomas Almeida, the loss to Chito Vera. I mean, you look at the names, he just hasn't had to fight his way up to like, well, I beat number 8 and I beat number 6 and I beat number 4 and I beat number 2. Like he definitely got the fast track because, he's got a little bit of Dana White privilege, but he's earned a lot of it himself as well, right? I mean, the guy just has that X factor, right? From the first time you saw it, Snoop Dogg yelling O'Malley. I mean, he has that. Exactly, right? He has that X factor, and that is, I mean, we know it, right? This is sports, but it's entertainment too, and it's not just about wins and losses. It's about who people want to see. And Sean O'Malley has that charisma. He has that swagger. He is a superstar. And, oh, by the way, he just happens to be really good at fighting as well. But I understand what you're saying because you're saying, hey, man, at 28, is he really ready yet? Yes, he had the test with Peter Yan. Again, some people say he didn't pass that test, but the results show he did. But he hasn't had those multiple tests along the way. And so I understand what you're saying. Are you giving the kid too much too soon? Does it ruin him? It's a different scenario because it happened way faster, but because he's kind of been in the news lately, it reminded me of when Kyoji Horiguchi fought Demetrius Johnson. Like all of us were like, bro, Kyoji's good, but not now, like not right now against this guy. And so, you see situations. Unfortunately, Kyoji has bounced back and he's carried on. He's had a phenomenal career since. But I understand exactly where you're coming from. That said, I just think it's undeniable. And I think everything that happened in the cage afterwards makes it incredibly undeniable at this point. By the way, I know you're the big, professional wrestling fan, so I'm sure you had a little bit of love for it. And I even had love for it, especially the jacket situation, which I don't know how much we're going to get about. I love that. But I do feel bad that Aljamain just doesn't get his moment in the cage. Like, it's just immediately afterwards. Like, man, I got to face off with this guy right now. I don't even get 1 minute to kind of enjoy this a little bit. It's a double-edged sword. You know what I mean? You want to set up the next fight, but at the same time, like, give that guy his respect. Give that guy his shine.
I'm a pro wrestling guy. I love the theatrics. I love all the promotion in with pro wrestling and with MMA, how they do it. I did not like that. I didn't think it was called for. I thought that, for your point, is that and Joe Rogan even said it. So I don't want to diminish your celebration here. I'm sorry. Yeah, because he saw it kind of going off the rails and he kind of brought it back. Not only that, is I think it cheapened what we just watched. It's like, forget about this. Literally, probably, in my opinion, the most competitive championship fight we have ever seen from just a pure competitive standpoint. How wages are close. Let's just forget about it now. No, I wanted to revel in that moment.
You see, and even Dana White afterwards, obviously, he admitted that he thought he probably made a mistake. And I have no problem with setting up the next fight, right? The great Chael Sonnen always says, don't leave the cage until the next fight's already set up. And it's 100% true because you want to have people talk about, oh, my gosh, did you see that? But guess what's coming next? Can't wait for that. But can't you set it up with the challenger still sitting outside the cage. I mean, remember John Jones sitting cage side with his hands wide. I mean, things like that. Like, I love that, right? Where, yeah, set up the next fight, point to the guy in the crowd, but let that champ who just finished a training camp, who just finished 25 minutes, who just put everything on the line, just let him have the mic and let him be the one to yell at the guy and be like, and you're next, Sugar Sean, you know, I'm coming for you. The hype train's about to be derailed, etc. And Sean out there, you know, he can brush off his shoulder a little bit. He can do the, hey, you're talking, but just don't bring him into the cage where all that has to happen. I think that's a little bit too much. Although Merab Dvalishvili is the man. I'll just give him that. That was he stole the show.
That was funny.
That was funny.
The one thing that, like, listen, I love O'Malley. I love what he stands for. I love watching him fight. I love it all. But when he says, you better look better than you did tonight because you looked like crap tonight, I said, shut up.
Yeah.
This guy just beat a 2-division champ, an Olympic gold medalist. You need to stop it with that. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, everybody is going to say, even if I thought he lost, I have 10 times more respect for Aljamain Sterling in that moment than I did before he got into the cage, because it showed that he is world class. And for O'Malley saying, like, you better look better against me, I'm like, man, like, what fight did you watch?
I get it. You're 100% right. But I mean, what's the dude supposed to say? It's kind of like a GSP, like, hey, I'm not impressed with your performance. You know what I mean? It's what are they supposed to say? I mean, is he supposed to get in there and be like, just got to say, Aljamain, that was a gutty performance, and you really dug deep to pull that one out there in the end. But I'm gonna beat you anyway. You know what I mean? You're not gonna give him any respect. But that just goes to show again. Don't give the challenger the mic at that point. Let the challenger be in the building. Let the challenger be cage side. Let the challenger have the camera, but let the champion have the mic.
Well, with that championship fight in the books, we had a #1 contender fight as the co-main event. I think we can all say that it ended in disappointment. Not that the fact that Belal Muhammad won, because it was a, damn near pick'em fight coming in, and we have both said on this show that what does he have to do to get a title shot and to get the respect he deserves? But Gilbert Burns obviously fighting heavily compromised. The production truck said it happened in the first round. I'm still not convinced of that, just because if you take somebody down and you land on your shoulder, like, that happens all the time. I'm not convinced that where the injury was.
I'm not either.
What say you? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not either, to be honest with you. And I think they were just looking to what it could have been. And maybe what it was a minor injury, and that exacerbated it or made it worse. But the way that when he went back to the corner and Henry hoofed, like, before he even said anything, Henry was like, I know. Don't say anything. That led me to believe, like, they already knew they were going in. And Henry didn't, being the wise coach that he is, he didn't want anything to come on the mic. He didn't want to make anything publicized right then. But it became very, very clear, that he couldn't throw the hand anymore. And it was one thing because you thought, okay, well, maybe just he can't throw the left hand, but maybe he can still take him. But you saw when he would reach down for takedowns, he had no power in it at all, right? He couldn't even wrap up the legs. He tried a couple of times and he had nothing. So a limited opponent. So you're 100% right. Disappointing, and not disappointing in terms of Belal won a decision and Belal gets his title opportunity. I mean, that's amazing. The guy deserves it. Just disappointing because we were like, man, these studs stepped up on short notice. And now, Burns clearly, wasn't 100%. And it was clear that one guy wasn't able to do anything. Now, we should also point out that Belal Muhammad did have an injury coming in as well. So we shouldn't focus only on the fact that Gilbert Burns, was hurt in there. Belal definitely was as well. He didn't want to talk about it much afterwards, but he had that left ankle injury. But his injury, man, it clearly didn't limit him in the same way, because whatever it was, and I don't know what it was, he looked like he was moving okay to me. So it was a frustrating result, but happy for Belal that he's finally getting this opportunity.
Okay. We talked, I'm not sure if it was last week or the week before, about why did they put this? I think 2 weeks ago, I think. Now, this short notice fight, why was it put together? Was it put together for external reasons because maybe Colby Covington really can't fight? Is it because Leon Edwards since he's saying he won't fight Covington, even though it's really not his choice, that he's putting up so much of a stink? Is it for, whatever? Is that why they made this fight a 5-round fight on short notice, or was it because it needed the star power? I'm convinced Now, nobody has said this. I haven't read it anywhere. I'm convinced that these legal matters of the lawsuit with Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal and the brain trauma and the brain injury, that has something to do with this. So with that being said, let's just say that doesn't have anything to do with it, and they just needed the star power, and they wanted this fight to go down. Is that fight, because a lot of people were saying the winner of this fight, if they come out looking good, they can jump Colby Covington. If Colby Covington is clear to fight, does this performance jump Colby Covington in that line to get a shot at Leon Edwards? Because I feel bad again for Muhammad, the situation that this guy was just put into.
Well, I mean, if you look at it in terms of like on paper, in terms of if it was pure meritocracy and what you're looking at, I mean, you look at beat Gilbert Burns, beat Sean Brady, beat Vicente Luque, beat Wonderboy, beat Damian Maia. The last fight that wasn't a win was the no contest with the champ, with Leon Edwards. There's history there. So to be honest with you, in that time, Colby's been sitting out a while and hasn't been able to. So yeah, to be honest with you, I would say yes. However, from Dana White's insistence that Colby Covington is next, Colby Covington is next, Colby Covington is next, I just don't see it happening. Now, you lay out something interesting, and for the moment you said it, I thought, wow, there could be something to it. The scenario you lay out, are the legal issues an issue? Is it just contractually they're having problems putting the fight together for whatever reason? It doesn't hurt the UFC to have another guy ready, another guy on standby. Look, hey, this may even be a situation, think about it this way, where the UFC may say, oh, Leon, you don't really want to fight Colby? Well, that's interesting, because Colby and Belal, they're going to go fight for an interim title fight in the meantime while you sit on the sidelines. Or guess what? You don't want to fight? Cool. You're not the champ any longer. Those two guys are fighting for the title. My man just beat Gilbert Burns. He's ready. Colby's been ready. He's been waiting on you. So guess what? So you see what I'm saying? Like, I think you're right. There's a little something afoot, more so than maybe just they need to sell pay-per-view buys. And that's why I told you that when you first met, it never hurts to have options available depending on which side it's coming from. But I think you're right. I think there may be some drama afoot behind the scenes.
Does he necessarily jump him? I don't think so. Here's my fear, right? Here's my fear, or my concern, rather. Belal does not get the respect he deserves. He is so good. So good. And the performance that he put in, whether it be a full-strength Gilbert Burns, a half-strength Gilbert Burns, I don't care. He was dominant, and he was dominant from the get-go. And he has been dominant for the last 2 years. He hasn't taken a back step to anybody except when he got clipped with a high kick against Leon Edwards in that fight, but recovered very nicely before getting poked in the eye. The guy has been a machine, and the fans are not going to recognize it because of a compromised Gilbert Burns, which I think is a travesty. That's my fear in all this, because he deserves it.
If Belal Muhammad gets a title shot next and wins the title, him and Aljamain Sterling should just become best friends, bro, because they can talk all the time. Like, you know what it's like to be a UFC champion and not get the respect you deserve? Yeah, it's funny you say that. I do know exactly what that feels like. All right, buddy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're absolutely right. Does not get the respect he deserves. And you're 100% right. This result is not going to get the respect that it deserves. But it is the result, and it did happen. And, oh, by the way, it was taken on short notice. And, oh, by the way, it was taken coming off Ramadan. And, oh, by the way, it was after beating Sean Brady. And, oh, by the way, Vicente Luque, Wonderboy. The list goes on and on. So you're absolutely right. I don't think he gets the respect he deserves. But I think, man, the fact that we both said praise to both these guys, that they were willing to put it all on the line in a short notice situation. And maybe both of them went in injured, to be honest with you, because like you said off the top, I'm not 100% convinced that takedown was what caused the injury from Gilbert Burns. So an unfortunate result. After that fight ended, it did leave me feeling kind of flat, like, it's not what I was hoping for out of this one.
When I hurt myself, whether it be grappling or whatever, I might not instantly react, but I instantly change what I'm doing to protect or get out of a bad situation. When he had that blast double and came down on his shoulder, and I'm using the air quotes, and injured himself there, he held on to the double leg. He didn't even let go.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. Like, if he'd have felt a huge tinge of pain at that moment, like, you're instantly going to kind of recoil the arm, right? And he didn't. So I thought the same thing. If you're assuming everybody's healthy and you're looking for something to find in the replay, that takedown is what you're going to look at, because he was a little bit on that side. And maybe it was. To be honest with you, I had the same feeling you did. I was like, I think he came in with something.
All right, the fight of the night. Aljamain Sterling and Henry Cejudo did not get a fight night bonus, which is wild to me because we
That's
had
crazy.
Evloev and oh gosh, I'm
Diego
Diego
Lopez.
Lopez on his
Yep.
UFC debut. He was a minus 1,000. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Evloev was a minus 1,000 against Diego Lopez. Diego Lopez coming in short night is on fight week. We were both saying how excited we were to see that Bryce Mitchell fight, but Diego Lopez off the Contender Series coming in was he off the Contender Series?
Yes.
Yeah, off the Contender Series, coming in, making his UFC debut on, I think, 3 days, short notice. That is insanity. And they put on one hell of a fight, and all the credit goes to Diego Lopez in this fight. When you lose, sometimes you really win, and he got an extra 50 G's for it. But he had Evloev in so much danger in so many spots in this fight. It was riveting television.
Unbelievable. And to clarify, I should say, by off the Contender Series, but not directly off the Contender Series. He lost on the Contender Series, had to battle his way back to this point. So let me clarify that. But yeah, phenomenal result from him. Came out there and against a guy that, to be honest with you, is one of the toughest challenges in the division. It came out and made it incredibly exciting. Nearly pulled off the win. I mean, had Evloev in some really bad positions. I think you could even argue that maybe he won that third round based on the positions, depending on how much value you give the submissions. But just went out. I mean, that is exactly what you want to see out of fighters, right? To just say, yeah, I'll step up. They called and it's against a top opponent. I'll take it. Let's go. And I love to see what happened, right? I mean, came in there. I don't know the details of his contract, but most UFC contracts start at 10 and 10 or 12 and 12, meaning 10,000 or 12,000 to show, another 10 or 12 to win. Let's say 12. So he loses and gets $12,000. However, Dana White says, I'm also going to give you your win money. I'm going to give you $12,000. And then he also gets a bonus. And so that's $50,000. You know what I mean? So to come in on a couple of days' notice, think you're leaving with $12,000, walk out with 74, does that mean you never have to fight again? No. But I mean, is that going to make an immediate impact in your immediate life? Like, can you pay off some bills? Can you set up some training for the next couple of months? Can you get yourself ready? And did you make a name for yourself? I mean, just, who doesn't want to see that guy fight the next time? I don't care who they pair him up with next time. You want to see that guy fight again. So that guy did what every fighter should want to do, man. I know nobody likes taking losses. Everybody likes to protect that record and take the best matchup possible and have a full training camp, man. But if you can go in there and have that type of confidence in yourself to turn in a performance like that, like, go do it, man. And he shined in the moment. And look, you got to give Movsar some credit as well. He's not that far removed from surgery. He fought this. Like, Movsar had legitimately nothing to gain out of that fight, right? I mean, if he would have lost, it'd have been incredibly embarrassing. And as it stands now, he won, and we're talking about his opponent. He's not moving up the rankings. He took it too. So credit to everybody involved. And it was a hell of a scrap.
That's what everybody doesn't talk about. It takes two to tango on a short notice fight. And we're only talking about Diego Lopez. But let's continue talking about Diego Lopez, okay? Because he got dominated in this fight, right? Diego Lopez clearly lost every round, okay? But in round number 1, he hurt Evloev on the feet. Then he caught him in everybody was freaking out like it was a deep armbar. It wasn't a deep armbar, right? That elbow got cleared right away. But he caught him in an armbar that put him in a very precarious spot. Still lost the round. Round number 2, this is where honestly some of the most danger was. In round number 2, to end the round, he had Evloev in a full triangle. And then round 3 was just, man, going for broke, and it was such a fun fight.
It really was. And I think it's fun, too, because it's the dangerous grappling that we saw there. You know what I mean? I think you and I are big fans of the grappling game. I mean, everybody loves, I mean, sure, I love a big knockdown, drag out, back and forth, stand-up brawl. But, man, that's what makes jiu-jitsu so phenomenal is, like, when you're going against somebody that's better than you, when you're going to get somebody that's beating you, but you're quick with your hips and you can find that one little submission and you can change everything in a second, man. It's so exciting.
And it was coming off the heels of Kron Gracie doing nothing off of his back, to then you have a guy who, with no name to him, it just attacking relentlessly off his back. It was just so fun to watch. This fight was this card was an amazing pay-per-view. I was entertained from start to finish. But Kron Gracie, man, got involved, man.
Yeah, it's funny. I hadn't really thought about that, the fact that those bouts happened back to back, but it really is a nice juxtaposition of, hey, man, obviously Colonel Gracie, part of a legendary family, a legendary father, you know what I mean? But, and still, like, take nothing away from his jujitsu, phenomenal jujitsu, but phenomenal kind of old school jujitsu, phenomenal, not that, evolution of where things stand today. And that was disappointing to watch. And I mean, I felt bad for him. I mean, it just, lengthy time away, pressure of the family name that he has to deal with all the time, and he always says it doesn't bother him, but it has to some degree. And Charles Jourdain handled him pretty handily. So, but yeah, it is weird when you juxtapose those back to back, like that looked like that old school jiu-jitsu, and then here's kind of where it's evolved to in consecutive matchups. And yeah, amazing baby. Yan Xiaonan with the big knockout, likely earning herself a title shot with a big KO over Jessica Andrade. It was fun.
Fun card. I was entertained. Even the undercard really entertained me. But something that happened then that night. Late that night in Hollywood, California, Tony Ferguson gets arrested for a DUI after allegedly crashing his truck, flipping his truck after hitting 4 cars, driving down the street outside of a nightclub, allegedly hits 4 cars, one of them being I guess a famous rapper that I've never heard of named Cash Gotti, but then flips his truck. Thank goodness nobody was injured and had to, I believe he's out right now, but he may or may not. The bail was set at $30,000. But it's kind of unfortunate circumstance.
It's incredibly unfortunate. Yeah, he has posted bond. He will have to answer to that, and I'm sure there'll be some legal issues. As you said, thankfully, nobody was hurt because, I mean, if somebody gets hurt in a situation like that, the stakes change tremendously, not to mention, obviously, if somebody, God forbid, loses their life or is, maimed, it's just, I mean, it's just terrible. But it's just bad. Tony Ferguson, if you follow the sport for any length of time, I mean, to me, it's just, I mean, one of the greatest fighters that we've seen and one of the greatest characters that we've seen, and a guy that I thought his career, I want to say, unfortunate because he had a phenomenal career. At one point he's 25-3. He's a former interim champ. The interim belt is kind of taken away from him before he ever gets to defend it, and then he goes on this losing streak. And I'll just be honest, person to person, and as somebody that covered his career up close, I like Tony Ferguson a lot as a fighter and as a person. And you hate to see things like this. And listen, man, we've all had a couple too many cocktails, one night here and there, but you got to grab an Uber, man. You got to grab a taxi because it just goes to show you, man, life can change in an instant. And thankfully it didn't here. Thankfully it was just property damage, and, hopefully all will be okay. But yeah, an unfortunate instance, and we're just fortunate it wasn't worse.
Looking forward on tap, pretty big, let's go back. There was so much to talk about it. I didn't talk about the North American debut of One Championship. You were there, Demetrius Johnson, and still reigns supreme. GOAT legend status has not changed. You were there. Was it just fun?
Yeah, you just have to mention it, man. I mean, I was there the entire week. I didn't get to be there on fight night because I was traveling to Canada for my Fight League Land. So I covered all the pre-event coverage, but I watched it on Prime Video. If you haven't, man, go watch the replay on Prime Video. It was really cool. The audience that was there, the crowd that was there was cool. I mean, again, I love the product that they're having. Demetrius Johnson, the GOAT, he's another one that kind of teased maybe retirement. I hope he continues on because he's still performing at such a high level. But yeah, it was a historic night for One Championship. The card is super insane. Sage Northcutt got a quick submission win after 4 years away. It was great to see him back. Rod Tang, the Muay Thai legend, man, he was phenomenal as well. I mean, there were highlights up and down this thing. Sebastian Katistan had an amazing knockout of Roberto Soldic. It's definitely worth watching if you didn't. But it was a historic night, and I hope it's the first of many for One Championship in the United States. I covered the press conference, the media day, all that good stuff. My good friend Cody Merrow handles social media and marketing for us at MMA Underground, mixedmartialarts.com. He was there, and he was just raving about it. They got the big in-stage setup. It's they kind of embraced that over the top. Whereas the UFC shied away from it and said, no, we don't want that pro wrestling look. They embraced it, the big in-stage. You walk in down the ramp, and they've got the knees to the head of the grounded opponent, which changes the game and positions. They do the Muay Thai. They do the submission grappling. So, yeah, very historic event for One Championship. Sounds like they're happy with the way things are going with that Prime Video deal, and definitely worth checking out. If you missed it, catch the replay sometime this week.
Looking ahead, just like there is no offseason in MMA, means we have one in the rear view. Looking forward, Another busy weekend on tap. Let's start Friday night, Bellator 296 from Paris, France on Friday, May 12th. Gegard Mousasi is fighting the brother of the welterweight champion, Leon Edwards, in Fabian Edwards. Fabian Edwards has looked fabulous on the come up here lately. Gegard Mousasi is an absolute legend OG of the game. I'm anxious to see it. Paris always shows out too. It's a fun crowd there.
Yeah, it really is, and this is a big fight. I mean, Gegard Mousasi is kind of mentioned, he doesn't know how much longer he's going to keep doing this. So you when you start hearing that, you always wonder, is the head there all the way? Is he training all the way? Is he 100% focused? I always get a little bit scared when I hear that, but he is an absolute legend of the game. Somebody that fought the majority of his career outside the UFC, so I think maybe doesn't necessarily get the respect he deserves from the North American audience, the U.S. audience, but make no mistake, if there was a mixed martial arts Hall of Fame in general, he's definitely in it. And then Fabian Edwards, as you said, the brother of Leon Edwards. I think Fabian's definitely the underdog here. But what a cool story it would be. And I know, in these situations where you have siblings or relatives or husband, wife, whatever, I always hate to pair them together because each athlete kind of has their own journey. But how damn cool would that be if he was able to win it and you have champions in the two major promotions? I mean, how cool would that be for brothers to happen? So definitely worth tuning into.
Yeah, it'd be fun. I'm definitely going to catch it. Then on Saturday night, listen, I'm not going to be able to watch this one live, but man, UFC, UFC on ABC4 this Saturday. It is a stellar card. John, I know you got it in front of you. Just run down. I know we just lost one, literally today. We lost one of the fights, but just run down this main card for us.
Yeah, we literally just lost one because it's, headline another card, which just goes to tell you how good of a matchup it was. But man, the main event, Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Jailton Almeida. That one right there gets me excited because Jairzinho, the big, heavy-handed kickboxer, man, that dude can put anybody's lights out. Meanwhile, Jailton Almeida looks like the next generation. This dude looks like every part of a future machine. Oh, my gosh. This dude is the real deal, man. He has just been tearing things up since he stepped in. I mean, to put it in perspective, Jailton, despite being the new guy in the division, is a minus 500 favorite on certain places, but Jairzinho needs one shot. Yeah, brother. Crazy. But Jairzinho needs one shot to put you out. So I'm looking at that. Light heavyweight, big one at light heavyweight, Anthony Smith versus Johnny Walker. Come on, that's a good one. This one I love. D-Rod, Daniel Rodriguez at welterweight against Ian Machado Gary, who's taking a step up. I mean, Ian Machado Gary has been kind of saying, slow roll me a little bit. I'm young. I'm fine developing. And I like that attitude in guys that aren't saying, hey, send me to the top right away. No, give me a little time to develop because I promise you I'm going to be the best ever. Just let me keep going. But he's going right to the rankings with D-Rod. So
he's putting that undefeated.
Start getting into fun fights like Tim Means and Alex Morano. Bro, they're going to get in there and scrap. Matt Brown and Court McGee, they're going to get in there and scrap. I mean, you could just go down it, and it's a good one. By the way, it starts at an early time as well. So if you maybe you got your Saturday night tied up, but you got Saturday afternoon available, the prelims start at 11:30 a.m. Pacific, or 11:30 a.m. Eastern, I should say, and the main card is 3 p.m. Eastern time, 12 p.m. Pacific here in Vegas. So it's a little bit earlier night as well.
Ooh, I didn't even realize that. I may be able to catch some of those early main card fight. Matt Brown and Court McGee and Tim Means and Moreno. I'll probably be able to catch those two fight now because this weekend I am going to be the third man in the cage again. And I'm actually excited about this card. There's a fairly new promotion. I don't know if you know, I'm sure you've heard of it. The UFL, the Ultimate Fight League. Right. Rampage Jackson is a partner in it. They are they are holding a card near here, and I've got the call. Hopefully I don't F anything up this week, but I'm gonna be reffing that, and great. And it's not just local talent. I mean, they're bringing in talent all over the country into this, so it should be a really fun card.
It's a big show, man. They've got big ambitions and big plans. Obviously, they're just getting started, man. So that's cool to hear that you're gonna be a part of it. But they got big plans, so definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, that's what I got going on this weekend. Other than watching all this MMA, you got anything else going on?
Well, man, some personal things, but Friday is my son's birthday, so we got to have the big birthday party for the kid. And then Saturday, I'll be at the UFC event in Las Vegas. And then don't forget, everybody, Sunday is Mother's Day. That's our friendly reminder to everybody out there. Yeah. Sunday is Mother's Day. Take care of everything there. So, yeah, busy weekend both in and out of the cage this week for me.
Love it. Don't wait till the last second like I always do. Even though I love my wife and my mother, my wife is such a great mother to our children. And then my mom, obviously, she raised this outstanding young man, right? You see in front of you. Don't wait till the last second because it just don't. You're going to get in trouble.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will.
What are you guys doing for the birthday party?
We got, my kids turned 11, so we got like a big video game truck coming over here in our house. We got a bunch of friends came over. Like, it's just, they've got like every video game imaginable you can all play. And then, catering and just a bunch of people kind of hanging out and having a good time. So should be fun. Yeah.
Well, this was another fun episode. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter, _MacLife. That gentleman right there is John Morgan _MMA. Always great follow. You should also read the Underground mixedmartialarts.com. He is putting tremendous amount of content up there. Go to their merch section. You can buy a Just Bleed shirt. I'm still looking for my freebie though, Mr. Morgan.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk. We got work into the contract.
There we go. Happy birthday to your son. Great fights that last weekend. Henry Cejudo, Aljamain Sterling. Mad respect to both of them. Looking forward. Great cards on the docket. For John Morgan, I am Eric McMahon. Enjoy the fights.